Hey guys, this is Carrie from Artstitution, and today I am going to teach you step by step how to paint this plaid um, octopus. So what I have here is a 16 by 20 inch stretched canvas, but you don't have to use that size, and you don't have to use a stretched canvas. You can use canvas board, or you can even use paper and paint with canvas paper. So, or on a piece of wood or whatever. So if you have a different shape, like if you have a square or if you have a bigger rectangle, you just have to adjust the composition. All right, so if you have a square, just keep in mind that you have to fit this amount of octopus into a square shape. That being said, once we get to all the tentacles and arms or legs or whatever, you can kind of be free to put them wherever you want. You don't have to put them where I put them. And as far as colors are concerned, you don't have to use the same color scheme as I am, but we're going to use the same rules. So if you're going to do a purple squid, we would be going from dark to light. So we'd start with like a dark purple and then pull out the highlights. But first we're going to do all that plaid in the background. And again, you don't have to use the blue and yellow that I used. You can use whatever color scheme you want if you want this to match a certain room. So I have my paper plate. I have a large flat brush, a medium flat brush, and then I'm going to use a small round brush for the detail later. Make sure I have my paper towel, I have my water, and I have my candles lit, my incense going, and just make sure you have a nice, comfortable atmosphere. I have my incense, my candles, I have my water here, and just feel really relaxed. You know, you can play whatever music you want, and breathe. And this is all about the process. Okay, so it's really secondary that you get to have a finished painting at the end. So it's everything that we're doing to create all this. All that relaxation, that art therapy, that's all very, very important, plus everything that you're going to learn. All right, so I used my egg cartons. I filled them up all the way so I don't run out of paint. You don't have to do that, but if you do have a leftover paint in your egg carton, just stick this in a Ziploc bag and it'll last you for days. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to always use, you don't have to use these, I'm just showing you what I'm using. If you're a painter and you have brushes that your go-to brushes like I do, these are always my go-to brushes. Don't feel like you have to use what I use. But I always like to mix with this middle brush because, as you can see, I have the primary colors in green and then black and white, and none of those colors are in here, which means we have to mix them. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to give myself a pile of, I'm going to start with 3 colors, and I'm going to use these 3 colors for the whole entire background. So we need to keep it nice and light because we want to be able to do the octopus on top of it. And as long as we keep our paint very, very light, it should be dry. All right. So I'm going to start with light blue. So I'm going to do a light blue and a dark blue, and then I'm going to do a yellow. So I'm going to take this middle brush and I'm going to do 3 scoops of blue. Okay. Then I'm going to do 3 scoops of white, but I'm not washing my brush. You can if you want, but I'm just taking it out of the edge, not going right in the middle. That way I don't have to clean my brush. I hate cleaning my brush. All right, so as you can see, it's like very, very bright blue, and that's more of like a muted blue. That's because I added a little bit of black, okay? And it's gonna kind of bring it down a notch, make it not so cartoony looking. All right, so once I have this medium blue, you don't even have to wash your brush. And we're all gonna get different blues, which is fine, and you'll see why as we get going. So I'm just gonna take the excess off. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I always forget that part. That way we kind of, you're gonna always see the new paintings we have, and it really helps us. Okay, in a separate pile, I'm gonna do 3 more scoops of blue. This time I'm gonna add just a little black, okay? Not too much. We want it to be navy. Okay, see how that's getting dark? You could always add more black. And I think I'm gonna add a little bit more black. That's really up to you. All right, so I'm also gonna add just a tiny bit of white to this just to just to make it a little creamier, just a touch. All right, so now we have a nice light blue and a nice dark blue. And of course, it does not matter what color. If you're doing purple, just do a light purple and a dark purple. Wash your brush. Okay, the thing about washing your brush is that water likes to get stuck in this metal part, so just make sure that it's nice and dry. So now we're gonna go switch to yellow. It's like more of a goldy color, but I'm gonna show you how to do that. In a separate pile, you're gonna take 3 scoops of yellow. Don't be shy with the scoops. Okay, so now you're gonna take from the edge of the red a tiny bit of red, because you don't want orange. You want it just gold. So gold is just yellow with like a touch of red. Mine looks a bit orange. If you like that, keep it. I'm going to just, of course, all you have to do is add more yellow to that. All right. So once you have that, I want you to add just a tiny bit of white. So we're going to do the same thing. It just makes it a little creamier and it covers better. We don't want to make light yellow per se. We just want to make it a little creamier, like adding creamer to coffee. So now we got light blue, dark blue, and then a gold color. So now wash your brush. All right, so after you wash this brush, you're gonna use it again, so just make sure you dry it off really good and just put it away for now. Give yourself some room. This is the really fun part. I mean, it's all fun, but. Okay, so we're gonna switch to this big brush, and now we're gonna go to the blue. So what we're gonna do to make this, I call it plaid. It's really not plaid, but it's like kind of like X's and whatever. So you're gonna dip your brush into that light blue, and you're gonna start covering like this. And the reason why I say this is really fun is because once you start covering it, and really keep it as thin as you possibly can, really spread it out. See, I'm really spreading out. This is because I want it to be dry. Okay, so I'm going to go over the whole canvas with this lighter color. And as you go, here's what I want you to do. I want you to wait until you don't have a lot of paint on your brush. So really spread that out until your paint starts. When it starts getting dry, see up here when it's not covering a lot, it's called dry brushing. And it's a technique, it's a fun technique. So as you're going, you're gonna dip your brush in the edge of the white, and you're just gonna kind of alternate and make streaks like this, going this way, and I'm really gonna spread it out. See how I'm like really spreading it out. If you do that, it'll be dry in no time. It's a very good arm workout too. So I'm gonna get some blue, some more blue, and then some more white. You want these variations in shades of white. I mean blue, sorry. See how there's kind of like some light blue and some dark blue. That's what you want. I'm gonna add some white over here because you don't have to make the spacing, the same, like stripes. Kind of keep it random. And we're gonna have stuff going that way too, so don't worry about, making it look exactly like what you want right away. And my arm's killing me because I bought a pool, above ground pool. Well, when I thought to do it, I didn't really think that it was gonna, like everybody else was gonna have the idea to buy an above ground pool. So it took me forever just to get one. But I finally won one on eBay, and I put it up, and of course, I started filling it with water, and it started filling up only one side. So I quickly went onto YouTube to see what it was supposed to do, and of course I didn't really think it through when I bought the pool about where it was going to go or the ground being level. I mean, I thought the ground was level, but clearly it's 9 inches not level. Unfortunately, I found that out the hard way. So I went all around my house, and there was absolutely no ground that was level at all. And I live on I guess my neighborhood used to be a very mountainous thing, because you can't really, all my flower beds are above ground because it's rock. It's very, very hard to till. So anyway, needless to say, I spent the past 2 days trying to make even ground, which I did as best as I could. I think it's about 1 inch off. So I'm hoping the pool doesn't fall over. But anyway, my arm really hurts. I definitely don't need an arm workout after that. Tilling is very hard. I have a new appreciation for people who farm and do stuff like that, because it was not easy at all. I wanted to give up so many times. I was like, you know what? Oh, we don't need a pool. Then I kept thinking, you know what? Those 100-degree days, my kids are going to be begging to go to the public pool, and of course there's nothing open this year. It's 2020 if you're doing this in the future, and most pools aren't open because of the coronavirus pandemic. So I guess that's why everybody went online to buy pools. So I thought I was being clever. But anyway, it's up, it's done, it's filling with water now, and hopefully everything runs smoothly from here on in. I'll tell you, that was a workout. My kids better use that every single day. Oh my goodness. I'm sure they will. I'm sure I will. It's hard to think about things being like it being so hot when it's not hot yet. But it'll definitely be our saving grace this summer for sure. All right, as you're going along, don't worry about if I'm going faster than you, because that's one good thing about doing this online, is that you could always pause me, or if you are way faster than me, you could fast forward. So here's where I want you to do the edges too. Don't worry if it matches your stripes, does not matter. It just looks better when it's on the wall when you do the edges. If you want to put some light blue on the edges, go for it. Whatever you want to do. So we're going to go, actually, we just went vertically, so we're going to go horizontally next, which is fun. And what's good about doing the edges too is you're kind of giving it time to dry. And now you'll see how fast this really does dry. And you know, if you're doing different colors, you just go follow my steps. So if you're doing like light pink, if you have light pink and dark pink, you just start with the light pink. It doesn't matter what kind of lines you have or where they are, because we're going to be filling the whole thing up. And the reason why I typically do the whole background first is because I really don't enjoy painting around things. It makes me very frustrated. Especially if you're doing blending. You want to be able to blend freely without ever having to worry about like going around. And if you run out of paint, no big deal. You can just make more, and you definitely don't have to have the same color. Actually, it's probably better if you don't have the same color, because it'll be even more colorful. Okay, almost done. We probably wonder why I'm doing the bottom, because nobody's gonna see it. It's just because I know it's there and not done. Okay. All right, cool. So now what we're gonna do is we are gonna take that dark blue. You don't have to wash your brush or anything like that. You're gonna take the dark blue, and you can just, I like to hold my brush kind of vertically and go down. You don't need a whole lot of paint on it, but I want you to be very random, okay? And light. It's okay if it's not dry, but I want you to start kind of going this way too. Just be very random. When you start seeing yourself kind of going into a pattern, try to get out of it. And we're just going to do this for a little while. You don't have to go all the way to the end. You're just going to have fun with it. If it turns a different color, let it turn a different color. Not a big deal. Okay? The biggest thing is you want it to be even. And no matter what you do, it comes out really cool. They're just designs. Plus your big octopus is going to be there, so that's going to be your focus. Right now you're focusing on the background, but when you're done with the painting, the focus isn't going to be the background. It's going to be the octopus. I love this painting. It's one of my favorites. I think I only did it with one person, and it came out really awesome. So don't forget, we're putting white in there too. And as you can see, my color scheme's a bit different than it is on that original. That's cool. And I say this every time I teach. I think I've said it on every single one of my videos, that is what's so great about these things, is because there's only one original. The one I do always looks different. And that's why originals are so valuable, because there's only one. So think about, you know, what plans like it's almost like cross hatching. You can pick it up a bit if you want. I'm obviously not doing the exact same ones as I'm doing there, because that would take the fun out of it. So I don't expect you to. If you want to move your canvas, you want to turn it that way. For leverage reasons, go for it. And just remember that you're gonna have a huge octopus that, you know, is gonna be there, so it's gonna be covered. And we're gonna actually add some white to this, so that's gonna be fun. All right, and you can always go back. If, you know, you don't have to do it all now, and you know, there's never a point where you, except for when we go to do the octopus. I don't really want to go back to do the background, because unless you go around the octopus, but like I said before, it's hard to do that. All right, so figure out how you want this to be. Do you want to, I turned mine over, but I'm going to turn it over again here. All right, so now I'm not even going to wash that brush. I'm going to dip it in the white, and I'm going to kind of put it on, take off the excess here. You don't need a whole lot of paint. Of course, it's going to turn light blue. That's okay, especially as we get started. You just want it to be lighter. So now we're going to do the same thing. And you're not going to cover it, everything you just did. You're just going to put some random lines in places where you don't have anything. I find this to be very, very therapeutic. And as you build and build and build, it looks cooler and cooler and cooler. And, you know, what's awesome about this technique is that you can, you know, keep on going with colors. You don't have to stop at these colors. This is just a technique. And really, only you know when it's done. because it's yours. You see how I'm being very random about it? Sorry, I get in the zone and I forget that you guys are there. Sorry. I hope you're getting in the zone too. Because that's what we want. We want this to be a meditation. I want you to kind of lose yourself in what you're doing. And when you do that, that's a good place to be. When you're not thinking about tomorrow, you're not thinking about what you did yesterday or what you have to do, that's where we want to get. It's hard. It's hard to shut your mind off. But it's also necessary. And it's not always art for everybody. Some people like to run, some people like to ride their bike, some people like to, knit or crochet. You find your thing. This is definitely my thing. But it does not have to be your thing. If you're doing this, it probably is your thing. But, and then you can go back. You can keep on going back. You can go back to the blue if you want. And make more. And just build it up. Build it up. Looks really cool. Don't forget to go in the opposite directions. You can alternate. At your leisure. Sorry, I didn't finish that sentence. Yes, alternate at your leisure. And if you're like totally done, because I'm really taking my time here, just fast forward me. And if you take longer, pause. Sometimes when you're taking a class, you feel a little bit rushed, which I never like to rush people. I always, everybody goes at different paces and stuff. And what's cool is that this looks different than that, and that's what I want. So I'm going to go one more round of white just to make it a tad brighter. And I might even, I think I'm going to switch to this brush because I think I want this line. This brush has a nice width. And I like how it looks chalky. Just hold it very lightly. And we're also biding some time with the blue to dry, because if we put yellow on top of blue too fast, it turns into, dun, 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 you already know the answer, green. So we're just going to give it some time. It's going to be hard. I know, we do all this work and then we paint right on top of everything we just did. I totally know how that feels, trust me. But it's necessary. You just gotta kind of dive in. It's like, jumping in cold water. You gotta just do it. If you prolong it, it hurts more. You just do it, you kind of, it's sort of like handwriting. If you ever took a handwriting class, it's like, the more you try, the less good it looks, if that makes sense. Or if it's like a cartwheel, if you hesitate, that's when you hurt yourself. You just kind of be in it. I'm saying that from experience. I think I pulled every muscle in my body the last time I did a cartwheel. I don't know what made me think I could do a cartwheel. It's like I do a lot of yoga, so I thought maybe my body's just stretched out permanently, but definitely should have stretched before that. But I paid for it, and I didn't make the mistake again. All right, so I'm getting to the point where I think I'm pretty done, but maybe a couple more. Okay. So this looks very different from that, and that's okay. You know, I went to town a little bit more on this. So you just keep going until you like it, and now I'm gonna wash my brush off and dry it off really good. Now we're gonna do some gold. So you can switch to that big brush if you want. I'm gonna stick with this little one. And if it turns green in some spots, don't worry about it. So I'm going to, let's see, let's start up here. And don't worry, because at the end we're gonna do, we're gonna touch up the gold. Make it a little bit brighter, but don't worry about that right now. I want you to, you know, you're gonna cover a lot of this with the octopus. We can add some more once the octopus is in there, because you won't know where the legs are going, and I don't want you to have to feel like you have to make the octopus a certain way just because of where you put yellow. I like doing like little cross hatches and stuff. And like, almost like, what do you call them, pound signs? I don't know. It's really, there's no way you can do this and it come out bad, because it's just so cool looking. And don't worry, if you do the octopus and you want to tone down your background, we can still do that. But you definitely don't want a lot of paint. That's the key here. You don't need a lot of paint. But you also want, when you're painting, you also want things to be balanced, meaning, you know, if you feel like you're too heavy on one side, like if I put a lot of yellow here and I didn't even it out on that side, you might feel like it's a little heavy, tilted, but with yellow you don't really have to worry about it as much as if it were like a red. Red really pulls your eye. That's why once we do this octopus, you'll see, like, we have to make sure that the arms are kind of all evened out. And it's obviously not even because it's like, you know, got a lot going on here, but you have to kind of like allow the viewer's eyes to kind of go around. Okay, I'm almost done. Okay. Cool. So again, like, we can add some more later. I got a lot going on right now. I might put some more, because my blue was not dry yet, so let me try to put some more pure white. I feel like it was like going straight to light blue because it was mixing, so I'm gonna go back to my white in some spots. Yeah, this looks like way more white, which is good. So here's where you could, if you want to tone some stuff down, it's always good. Don't forget to go this way. here. Yeah, I don't really know where I'm going. I just kind of go little bits at a time. Then I kind of step back a little bit. But like I said before, you just want to keep the paint nice and light. I'll even it out over here. And you could do, acrylic paint's awesome because it dries so quickly and you can paint right on top of it. Lots of times people don't believe me when I say that, but seriously, it dries so fast and it's very forgiving, which is why people do these paint nights with acrylic paint. I actually, in college, I hated acrylic paint because it dried fast. Now I love it because it dries fast. It's funny how things change when you get older. I was a big watercolor. Well, I still use a lot of watercolor, but it's not as forgiving. With watercolor, you could definitely go too far into it and then have a piece ruined. With this, even if you painted the whole entire canvas black, you could still paint on top of it. I mean, you'd have to wait till that dries, but still, I've painted over so many canvases. And I think the biggest mistake you do when in these paint nights, or my paint nights, I guess, is go thick because of the way I teach with the layering and stuff. If you go too thick, you just be moving paint around. So, but that's just me and how I teach. All right, so kind of step back and see where you want to put some stuff. I think I'm all right with it. I think we're going to have a big octopus here, so I don't want to go too crazy as I keep going. Sorry, yeah. All right, seriously, I'm going to stop. I'm really stopping. Okay, so wash your brush. Dry your brush. And now we're gonna get to this octopus. So what we're gonna do first, if you wanna switch your plates, you can. You keep this for later because I'm gonna touch up all those yellow. I want it to be a lot better than that because right now it looks a little bit green. So, and you can kind of mess around with your background a little bit by putting a little bit more stuff around. If you wanna go back in before, I didn't do the dark again. So if you wanna go back in and do some darks before we get into the octopus, you can. But I'm gonna wait till later for me. All right, so we're gonna make a dark red. So we're gonna take 4 scoops, make sure that brush is really dry. 4 scoops of red onto your plate. All right, so we're gonna add a little bit of black to that. Now, a little bit of black is gonna go a long way. Okay, see how it turns it almost like to a blood color, almost like a purpley color. That's what we want, nice and dark. And even add a little bit more. Right. So we're actually going to add a tiny bit of white to that just to make it creamy like we did with everything else. Take the edge off and make it a little less transparent. So you're going to have a nice dark color like that. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to figure out where we want this head to go. So for me, I kind of did these 3 tentacles first, roughly, and the head, and then I kind of put the other ones in, okay? So this, if you put an imaginary line in between, like right down the middle here and right across, you'd see that the head lands sort of in the middle, okay? Now, don't make it as big as you think you're gonna make it because you could change it later. Just make like a little oval shape, just to give you something, some kind of guide. Okay, just remember, we could make it bigger. So if we have trust me, I know how scary this is. If we have an imaginary line down the middle, we can see that this arm is coming up, and it's gonna just come. And let me just tell you something, mine never looks the same. There's no way, unless I measure it out, that it's gonna look the same. So I would never expect yours to. So just kind of do that. Looks like a backward 6. Okay, and then it's gonna come off the page a little bit up here. Now, what I want you to look at the negative space just as much as the positive space. Now, the positive space is what we're doing, which is the octopus. The negative space is what's inside. That being said, it doesn't, it'll help you with the shape, but it obviously doesn't have to. It's no fun if you feel like you have to do that shape exactly. But just to show, you could always build on it. So I want you to kind of just put something there. Okay. Now, as you get into it, I want you to make it bigger. But, always start smaller. You could always make it bigger, okay? And as it gets to the end of it, it gets, smaller. Okay, see how it comes off up there? It's cool composition. All right, this one's smooth it out because we want it to be nice. Don't worry at all about all the brush strokes. You want to smooth it out. Don't worry that you could see through it because we're going to do a whole nother layer. But I need it to be nice and thin. So go around. Okay. And it's going to overlap that. Don't worry about all that inside there. Okay, and don't worry because we go back, we're gonna make it bigger. So now we have this, I want you to see, see that much of the head? And of course I'm just showing it to you, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like that. So we're gonna right now we're gonna do this one, okay? We're going slow, so we're gonna go, it's gonna go off the page, so just kind of make something that'll help guide you, okay? So then this is coming off and coming back down there. So for now, that's enough. And we'll start making this one thick. So it's a building up process, okay? This is all a building up process. Now that we're doing such a dark octopus, the background doesn't look so dark anymore, does it? Okay. If you see any pools of paint, just spread them on out. So I love octopi. You'd think I'd know what the proper word is. Octopuses? Anyway, I love them. I have a big tattoo of one on my back. I just think they're so cool. And apparently they're really, really smart. Because you have to be, if you have to control all these legs, arms. I should really look that up if they're called legs or arms. I'm sure some people are like shouting at me at home. They're not even legs or arms. They're tentacles, or they're not. I have no idea. Anyway, they're beautiful. So as you can see down here, it comes, you're going to see a little bit of that. And I want you to look at this as a triangle shape. It just helps you with what's, kind of getting to the next one. So I'm going to use that. And as you can see also as I'm going, it's not exactly the same. And I know when people paint, especially if you're new, because I've done this with thousands of people in person, people get very frustrated if it doesn't look, exactly like mine, or if you were you're doing it from a picture, it doesn't look exactly like the picture. I think the hardest part of my job is to convince people that that's a good thing. We don't want it to look like the picture. We want it to look like your own, you know? Nobody's gonna be looking at the picture anyway when they look at your painting. So it just makes me laugh. All right, so I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. Give myself a breather. We're gonna go on to the next leg after this. I'm doing that so it's nice and dry later. Okay. I'm gonna spread out all that paint. Okay. So now we're gonna do this big guy coming out. So what I want you to do up here is, now that we have all this out, we are going to kind of make this come out of the arm a little bit. Up here, we're gonna make like a little shelf looking thing, okay? Don't overthink it, please. I don't even know what that is. Okay, then this is almost looks like a backwards L. And this is where you're gonna put just a lump for the eyeball. And paint it all in. And then have that. And the reason why I wanted you to get that in there was because when we do this, I want you to have like an imaginary line coming through here out to the other side, okay? And then this is where we're gonna come up, over, and out, and look at where it's coming, how far it comes to the top. Now there's two intertwining here, but we're just doing the top one. Okay. Now remember, it's fatter down here, and it gets skinnier as it goes up. And try not to worry about like where it's overlapping and stuff. We'll figure all that stuff out later. We'll use light and shadow lights and darks to bring all those out. See how I'm kind of going slow because I'm building up. What I think a lot of people do is that they just make, especially with animals, they'll go really chubby and then they'll be like, mine's too chubby. So I always like to take my time when I'm making them bigger. This one's really big. Okay. Make sure there's no pools anywhere. Pools of paint. All right. And you can always make these bigger later. It doesn't have to, there's really no point where you have to stop. All right. So now we have 1, 2, 3. Do I even have 8 here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, no, we have like a hidden one over at 8. Ooh. Phew. All right. So let's see. We have that one coming out here. So let's do this one. Now remember, look at the negative space. Even though it doesn't have to look exactly like mine. Actually, it won't. Okay, same over here. Look at the negative space, just to help you with the positive space. Okay, we're going to do another one. So if I'm going too fast, don't feel guilty for pausing. All right, so this is going to come up and come out that way. I'm lifting up my canvas because it's hard for me to get to the bottom of the canvas unless I lift it up. Whoop. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay. All right, so now we have one coming out here. Now, I know there's shadows. We'll do all that later. So at this point, I just want you to look at the negative space here. Okay, so we have this. It almost looks like it's kind of, look at how far these two come. You can always make it bigger. See, now my composition is a little bit different, so I have to change it up because I didn't have enough room. So we're just gonna put a leg there. Okay, see, it definitely does not have to look the same. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. And we're almost ready for round 2. Then we have a big one, and these two are going to join each other a little bit. Just kind of remember that they're 2 different ones. So this is coming through here, and it's going to go, ooh. Okay. If you feel like you need to switch to the tiny brush at any time, do it. I'm just being lazy. So as you can see, mine isn't even the same shape, and does not matter. And I'm just gonna make sure I have out all of the. I think I got them all. So if you want to go around and make anything bigger, do that. Okay. I think I'm gonna make this guy a little bigger around here. Guy meaning arm. Okay. Make this a little bigger here. Okay, so what we're gonna do? Well, I want this to dry just a tad because I want the next layer to be like really nice and cover really good. We're just gonna wash our brush off, dry it off. Really make sure it's got all the paint off because we're gonna go back to the yellow for a bit, and we're gonna really try not to touch the red. Okay. And we're just gonna give the octopus some time to. I'm gonna actually add a little bit more white to my yellow so it covers better. Right now it looks very transparent. All right. All right, so I'm just gonna go over some spots so it's a little more yellow. Take your time. We're in a new rush. Let's see how another coat kind of brings out. If you go over the red, don't even worry about it. We're going for a second coat. Go right here. If you're going to go over the red at all, I'd rather you do it now than later because we're going to go cover it right up with that second coat. Did I say that right? No. Okay. Let's see how the second coat makes it so incredibly bright. I love it. You could add more if you want. Now's the time. And if you smudge it like I did, just wash your brush. If you rub it a little bit with the dry paintbrush, your brush will still have a little bit of paint on it. I mean water, so you just spread it out there. So now I want, while this is drying, you can go back with your dark, if you want to add any dark spots to it. I'm going to add a little bit more darkness. Don't worry about going over your octopus a little bit. Don't worry. So my dark is not even as dark as what my original color is. And that's fine. All right, let's see where else I want to put it. I have a lot of dark down here. Let's see, let's put some over here, put some darkness over here. Like I said, go straight over. If you get some red in it, don't worry about it. If you stayed really light with your paint, then it should almost be dry. And this should almost be like dry brushing, so it's gonna look chalky. And you might be like, why are we doing the background now and going over it? It's just, we're biding time. That's all. We're biding time for that to dry. Okay. Cool, this part I love because then you can, I love when my original looks different than the one I'm doing, because it proves to everybody else that it does not need to be the same, not even close. Just go around and see where you want to add some stuff. Does not have to be where I'm adding my own stuff. Really try to think, you know, where you want it. I know it's definitely hard because I think when you first start painting, you're scared to kind of do anything on your own. Not everybody, but some people. I mean, it's like that when you first start something. It's very scary. So give it a little bit more time and we'll do the same thing with the white. Now the white is if you get it into the red, it's gonna be a different story because it might smudge if it's not all the way dry. This looks cool because you're going over that yellow and it's definitely giving it like that that plaid look, which is super cool. I think mine's dry. I'm going right in the red and it's not doing anything. Yay. Let's see where else you need it. And I mean, you don't have to keep doing it like I'm doing it. If you loved your background before, don't touch it. Just see where it's needs to be balanced. All right, I think it's, and again, like if you feel like you could always go back to this later. There's never a point where you can't. That's what's cool about paint. Okay. And you can even go back to the original blue we had. If you want to tone down some spots. So fun. Right. I can really, literally do this forever. Right, so I'm going to stop. So if you feel your octopus, it should be dry. Now round 2 should take you no time at all. So we're just gonna make sure that brush is clean and dry. And we're gonna go try to start where you started before. And the second coat is gonna be nice and fast. And just go around it. Again, keep it thin, because we are going to be painting right on top of that later, well, after this. And if you run out of paint, just make more. Not a big deal. So you might be thinking, why are we painting this dark if you have never painted with me before? I paint dark to light. So we're doing the darkest, almost the darkest part, because at the very, very end, we're going to do the highlights and the most dark spots. But for now, this is just, these are like the shadow parts. And I ran out of paint, so I'm going to mix some more. So you're just going to add a tiny bit of black to red. It does not have to be the same color, so if you don't get to the same color, don't worry about it. And we put a pinch of white. Okay. So keep it thin. I know I keep saying that. Just a reminder. And it's not, you know, don't worry if it's not covering fully, because we're going to do some layers of highlights and stuff. Just go slow. I know some people rush and then they don't like theirs, or they rush and they do the arms too big, or they rush and they don't get it right. Right, of course, varies, but if you rush, you sometimes don't get it the way you want it. So I always tell people to just really take your time, okay? Especially when kids tend to rush. But you're really in no rush. And again, the beauty of these videos is that you go at your leisure. It could take you a week if you want. I had one of my regulars did one of the flower paintings I did, and she did it with her mom, and she said that it took them 8 hours because they were chatting. You know, they said they felt it was really complicated, but their favorite one. So they took their time, and I think they got a lot of not just art therapy out of it, but I think that time they chatted a lot, and it was time to spend together. You don't want to rush that. Okay. So when we're done with this, we're going to talk about the highlights and the shadows. Because even though this is this is a dark, it's not the darkest. We're going to do one shade darker. almost black. And if you could see like little sections that have that. And if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to message either Jenna or myself. Everything's up on our website. I think my number's up there. I think my email address. You can message us through Facebook or Instagram if you have any questions. And I know there's a section under the video somewhere where you guys can make comments. So if you have any suggestions or anything you want to say, or maybe if there's something specific you want to paint, let us know. Okay. And if you come off the page, I mean, this is really nitpicking, but I like to do that. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's just because I know it's there. I need to do this for the soul. Okay. Cool. So it's looking good. Let's wash that brush. So we're gonna, since it's wet, it's fine, but we're gonna move on because then we can blend it. So now we're gonna use highlights and darks to pull this out. So I have a huge glare here, so I'm gonna go like that. All right, so what we're gonna do first is we're actually going to start using highlights to kind of pull the different legs like forward and back. So we're just gonna take this color that we have and we're just gonna, I like to add white to just a section of it until you get like a lighter color. It doesn't have to be the lightest color there. Just like have a nice pink color. And what we're gonna do, don't need a lot of this, and we're gonna make lighter colors too. So see this arm here? And I'm not going all the way to the edge, I'm leaving a little dark spot. I'm kind of going like, just make a line like that. If you squint your eyes, you can see the highlights and the shadows. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of make a highlight here. Don't think too much about it. And here's where a lot of people like to take the original color of the darker color, and if you want to help you blend it, see how you just take it and you blend it. And see, you make a highlight there. And if you want to dip your brush into that dark again and kind of help blend it down there, you can. Then you go back to the light. And the way I did it is I have light and then it's going to dark because its arm is twisting. So I'm just going to come up here and do, again, I'm not going all the way to the edge, but you do want this to blend. So just keep painting until the paint comes off your brush and you don't have a lot of paint on your brush. And you're just going to blend it. Right down the middle. Now, you can switch brushes if you want, but because I'm lazy, I'm not. You're gonna pull this out so you have a tentacle coming onto the face a little bit. Okay. So you just come up here. And if you feel like you need to use the darker colors to blend again, do that. But I mean, this is only my beginning stages of highlighting because we're gonna come back and make it even highlightier. but you know, you don't want a hard edge. You just want to do some brush strokes so it doesn't look like it's like a light line coming down. Okay. And if you want to take the darker one and help blend it, feel free. All right. So take that light color again. Now we'll do this guy over here. So we're gonna move it onto this light, go right down the middle. Now these are gonna be twisty and turny, so don't worry about that right now. We're just gonna go right down the middle like this. And as you go, just make some streaks into the dark. You don't want it to cover up all the dark. You just want it to kind of fade out on both sides into the dark. So you want dark on this side and this side, but you don't want to necessarily have a light line going down the middle. You want to just fade it. And again, if you feel like you have to, your comfort zone is to go back into the dark to help you fade it, do it. Sometimes when you put wet on wet, it'll see how it helps it fade. Same thing on the top. If you want to go back to the dark, see how it helps you fade that light in there, and then you can go back to the light. And I'm obviously not washing my brush in between. See how? And blending takes some getting used to, you know, like anything, like painting in general. So up here, I'm going to do the highlight on the top. And then I'm going to stop because now this leg's going in back. And I'm doing a little highlight here. And again, we're going to go in with much lighter colors too. This is just the beginning to help us. So here, we're going to go straight down the middle. Okay. And we're going to have that highlight. Again, if you want to have that darker color, help you blend the edges in, do it. It definitely helps. Okay. And I don't know if you can see how highlighty mine is, but I am putting a highlight down the middle. Okay, now before we keep going on, I want you to start putting highlights here. So, and I want you to get used to blending. So obviously we have a highlight here. And it's going to, I want there to be dark spot between the head and all these other parts. So we're just gonna feather it, meaning there's not a lot of paint on the brush. So it's not abruptly a highlight, see that? Same thing up here, we're just gonna put a highlight up here for now. And we don't wanna make it too light yet, we'll go back later. This is just so you get used to it. So all the darkness all the original color that we had are gonna be shadows. We're just gonna put some up here. Put some up here, and remember, keep that dark here in the middle here. Now we're gonna go back in with dark, so don't worry don't worry about all the rest of the stuff right now. And again, if you lost any part and you want to come back with a dark, go dip your brush in the dark and help it separate those pieces again by using the dark to fade. But we're going to go back with a darker dark than this. But for now, I want you to practice doing that. All right, so we're going to move on to the next leg. Okay, so we are going to put a highlight here, right down this part. And again, you want to just kind of feather it down the sides, and this part just in the middle, and just feather it. Keep that darkness in between each thing. each section. I'm going to do the same thing down the middle here. Right down the middle of that leg. And sometimes you'll be able to feather it out without having to use the dark to feather it, to kind of blend it in. And sometimes you'll need that dark, and it's really up to you. See how I'm using the dark to blend it? All right. Once you get to like the outer edges of these guys, it gets a little, you don't have to go crazy with like blending. I just want you to be able to see mine. That's why I keep on highlighting it. All right. Keep running out of light color. So we're going to do the same thing. Let's go with this big guy here. So we're going to go right in the middle and go. Here's where it's important, because you don't forget we have a smaller one over here. So we're just going to do that. Come right to about here. So that was a really light highlight that I did by accident. So I'm going to take the dark and I'm going to help tone that down. See how easy it is to do that? So the way we're going to separate these two legs, I'm just going to call them legs for the sake of it. Hold on, let's get over here and I'm going to blend that dark. I have a lot of light on my brush, so I'm going to wash it. And I ran out of paper towels, so I'm going to use my tablecloth. All right, so I'm going to get some dark in here and blend it. All right, but again, try to keep the paint really thin. So you want to keep the dark as what's separating all the legs right now. So it's almost like the shadow. So you don't need a lot of this light. So see how I'm going to keep some of that shadow. It creates like the separation in the legs. And same thing down here. I'm gonna do that. And then when you get to here, you can keep a little distance of the dark. And then same thing here. You want the dark to separate the legs. Okay. Now we're going to go a little bit lighter. So you can just add a little more white. It just has to be a little lighter than that. So now we have a big highlight here. Just by adding white, that's it. That's all you have to do. Okay. I'm using that middle brush. And I always still have that pile of dark. So if I want to go back to that, I can always blend with some dark. Even if you want to have two brushes going. Okay. It's all about the blending. All right, so when you come over here, I'm making, whoops, I have a lot of paint up there. You don't need a lot of paint. So I have a motto: lighter, less. The lighter you go, the less color of that light highlight you need. Okay. So it's basically like an accent. And don't worry, because it's gonna look different when we put the darks, because right now these look a lot lighter, but once we put darks into here, it's gonna turn a lot lighter too. So, same thing over here. I just want you to put a little highlight on the head for now. You barely need anything on your brush. Basically just feathering a highlight here. Same thing, you're gonna do a highlight. Let's see, let's do a highlight up here. Do a little highlight right here. Highlight right here. And we'll do a highlight right here. I know it doesn't make sense, just follow my dots here. It'll make sense later. All right, so now we're doing this. So now we're going to do another highlight. So this should be really coming out now. So when you don't have a lot of paint on your brush, I know I said this before, it's called dry brushing, but it also keeps it very dry, so you can constantly do layer upon layer. Now we're going to do a highlight on the edge. Again, stop before you go here, and then just in the middle right there, do another highlight. We're going to do another highlight here, but again, less. Same thing in the middle here, but less in the middle here, less. You're going to do in the middle, but again, less. And see how as we go around, it's starting to come out. It's starting to develop. And basically I do all my paintings this way. So it might be weird at first, but as you do it a bunch of paintings, you just know what to do next. Okay. All right, let's see here. And then up here I have like a little highlight of something or other, not sure what it is. And that's another thing, it doesn't have to be like correct when you're doing art. Like you're not gonna have an octopus expert looking at this going, an octopus wouldn't really do that. It's art. That's what's awesome about it. You can do whatever you want. You can make an octopus with, 10 legs or 2. Totally up to you. All right, so now we're gonna do one more step lighter. So you want this one to be the lightest color. So you just add a little bit of, see how I like to use my same pile so I know when I'm getting lighter. And you don't need a lot of paint, but this, you're not gonna use a lot of this. So the highlightiest highlight's gonna be here. Just on the inner part of the arm here. You are gonna do a little bit of a highlight on the head, parts of the head. That's about it. You want the highlight just a little. A little goes a long way. See how I'm doing lighter, less, lighter, less? So the highlights are just accents. I bet we do the darks, then they're gonna really pop. Oh yeah, I'll just do one more highlight in here. And what's cool is like if you say you don't like your highlights, or you think you overdid them a bit, all you have to do is go back to your darker color. That's why I saved my darker color. And go paint right over it. Cool. Okay. Now we're gonna do some darks. Actually, we're gonna do some purple. So this is fun. We're almost done, believe it or not. Well, actually, all those suction cups, but that's okay. So we're gonna mix some purple. So purple is red and blue. You can put equal amounts. So you can do 1 scoop of red, 1 scoop of blue. Mix it, see how you feel about it. It's gonna be super dark. If you want some more red, you can put some more red. If you want some more blue, put some more blue. There's a million different shades of purple. So what we're gonna do with this purple is we're gonna start making just like, sort of like shadows. So we're gonna separate, we're gonna put some in here, and it also just makes it look cool. So we're gonna pull out this leg from behind. Okay, so we're just gonna put some purple there. And as we come up here, we are just gonna spread it out. Now I'm holding my brush very light, very light, very, very light. And then you're gonna take this one and you're gonna pull this away from that other leg and just put some, you might be asking why we're using purple. It's honestly, it's just it's like not even that noticeable, but it just makes it look cool. You might have looked at it and thought it was black, but it's not. But we are gonna use some black. So anyway, I'm sorry, I went ahead without saying anything. You're gonna separate that leg, okay? You're gonna do the same thing over here. And you're just gonna feather it out. Remember what I said, that you don't use a lot of paint? Now I want you, this one's a little tricky. So we're gonna put some purple coming down, this one coming at the top, but don't touch this one. Keep a little of that dark red in between, and just, I want you to just put some purple coming down that tentacle thing. See how this one's going up? This one's going down. All right, and then we're gonna put some, again, keep some red in between. That's this tentacle here. You're gonna come down a little bit. And don't worry, this is not the darkest that we're gonna do. You can come down. I know I put a little bit more shadow color on this tentacle, but that's all right. Now I want you to separate these two tentacles with a little bit of purple here. All right, let's see, where are we going next? So this one, we just put a tiny bit of purple on this side. There's a shadow on that side. When you get to this one though, we're gonna go right down the middle here. You might have to pause me. It's like this is like when I was putting something recently together and I was like, oh my God. It went so fast and I had to YouTube it, and I think I paused it like every second. So feel free to pause. All right, then we can put some purple on the outside of that. I mean, really, you could put purple wherever you want. And when you get to here, you have purple under here, making a little shadow. What we're really just doing is putting some cool purple colors. Then for the fun of it, we just have some purple up here. For the fun of it, we have some purple up here. And again, we don't have to use purple. You can use something else. Now, where we separated the legs here, we could put some purple just to darken it up. Put some on the bottom if you want. Also, switch your brush if you, I mean, I'm using this big one, but the small one, I'm going to definitely switch this smaller one in a bit. Because there's certain places I want you to put purple. Like the spots that separate, like I didn't do purple on the inside of this leg. Do some purple. I did some on the outside of this part here, just till we got up here. Then I switched to the inside up here. And then I think you can, I don't know, let me see if I can switch. So up here, we're gonna put a little bit of purple feathering, just the top of this weird shape right here. I don't even know what the heck it is. I just know I have purple there. Octopuses are so weird to say and to paint. Same thing over here. You're just gonna put some purple. Don't overthink it, just put a little purple, because it does not matter. Just I want you to do is kind of, with the blending, just make sure it's nice and feathered. You don't need a lot of paint. Just we're just adding some cool colors. Let's see. Now you can just go around, and if you add it wherever. There's a lot of darkness inside of here, but it's just going to get darker when we add the darker color next. But I like the way the purple looks because it's not so intense. All right. Awesome. So, if at any point you want to go back, if you don't like the purple, go back to the dark red and help to blend it. Okay? And you might have to wait till it dries for a little bit, but if you go back to the red, you can make it less intense. Anywhere you want to go. But I like intense. But I think I'm going to tone down this guy here, make it a little less intense. So really all of these are just kind of, you're using highlights and shadows to make things three-dimensional. I mean, that's what you always do. That's how you make things three-dimensional. But I always like to keep my, all my colors that I use the whole time on my plate because of that. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the darkest color. So what I want you to do is actually take black, and I want you to mix it in with that purple. The rest of the purple that you have, just make sure you're done. So now you have what looks like black, but it's really not. It's really like almost black. So I'm going to put that other brush away. Now I'm going to use the tiniest brush. Now I'm going to go into that, and I'm going to go to where you would see a big shadow. And this is going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it under this arm tail thing. Now I want to feather it down. Just make it a little, blend it in just a little bit with, so basically you're drying your brush and then blending it like an eraser, or like a blending tool. Okay? Now we're going to come up here, and you're going to do a little bit of black up here, and you do the same thing. Blend it down a tiny bit. And where else? Up by the eyeball. Coming down in the head, just blend it. And don't get yourself all worked up over this shape right there, because it really doesn't matter. Until we put that eye, it looks like weird and like nothing really. So you're going to take this twisty part and you're going to put some black in here, but I want you to blend it both ways, up and then down. Not too crazy. And if it helps to wash your brush and dry it, wash your brush and dry it. I just don't want it to be a straight edge. Okay, we want it to be a tiny bit blendy. All right, so now you're going to come down here. Well, actually, you're going to come to where little spots where there would be a shadow, like this one coming. But you also have to blend it up here. Blend it. So you're blending it up, blending it down, and you can even come to these sections. These are all going to be blended, but you could. It helps when you dry brush, okay? Because then it's not such like a bold line. You know, come to sections where that darkness, like I said before, if you squint your eyes and look at that, you can see where the darks and the lights are. Way better. Let's see. So then I have some, just a little line under here. I'm going to blend it in. Then I have some crazy dark here. I'm just going to blendy. I'm going to have some crazy dark here. Blendy. Then we have some here separating this guy here. Where else? Looks like there's some over here. And there's a bit here. And some under here. I mean, you could really just, wherever you want the darkest darks to be. But I'm not putting a whole lot. Okay, put some separating these guys. And okay, cool. And then I have some up here. The trick is just blending. You want to really blend it. All right. Am I missing something? All right. So what we're going to do now is I want you to get that middle brush and I want you to make sure it's washed and dry. And I want you to take that little teeny tiny brush and make sure it's washed and dry. Or you don't need the big one anymore. I know that blending was probably harsh, but step back and make sure the lights are as light as you want them and everywhere. If they're not, go back. I see a couple of my spaces where I'm looking at that and I'm squinting my eyes and I can see that mine's not. I could go a little bit lighter in some spots, even lighter than that. Very light pink. Over here. Where else? I can go a little lighter here. But I barely have any paint on my brush. And then let's see where else. Go make some here. And it doesn't have to be where I'm making it either. You can go make some highlights wherever, I don't have them. All right. Cool. Now we're going to take that middle brush and put some yellows. So we're going to take the background, and you probably didn't notice it in there. We're going to take that background yellow, and we're just going to, when I say dry brush, I mean like really light. So you barely need any. And if this is your first time dry brushing, you probably hate me right now. But it does take a little bit to get used to. So we're going to dry brush some yellow gold into this arm here. You're going to use the same color that we had from the background. And we have some in the arm here. Again, this is just the accent. Have some in the arm here. I put some over here, and feel free to put more than what I'm putting. Again, just meant to make it look a little bit more interesting. Put some, really, wherever you want. Then I have some of the cheek here, or whatever that is. I don't even know if that's a cheek. And I have some in the head. All right, I think that's enough for that. Okay. Now take the little brush and you're gonna take some white and you're just gonna put a little, actually, you know what? Let's make that a little, add a little bit of that red into there just so it's not pure white and not sticking out. So it's like nice light pink. So we're just gonna put, for now, we're just gonna put a little dry brushed circle because we're gonna put a black thing in the middle, but just, you don't want it like a solid circle. You want it like choppy edges, okay? So now, while we have that out, we're gonna make ourselves the lightest of the light pinks, okay? So basically it's like when you throw a red sock into the laundry and you have this pink color, that's what we want. So now we're just gonna make, and I really don't want you to like really over analyze this at all. You're gonna make dots, okay? So an octopus has these suction cups, but as they go towards the end, they're smaller. So by the time you get here, they're gonna be super small. Okay, and I'm just gonna use, and you don't need a lot of paint. You're gonna use your brush. And try not to get into a pattern. I like to stagger. And it'll take you forever if you don't use the shape of your brush. And as you get over here, they just kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So I like to stagger. I like to make them sloppy looking. So they're not perfectly, I'm totally not going by what I made before. Here's where you want to like put some music on. And they don't, you know, try to make them different sizes. Make it interesting. Get in the zone. And, you know, it gets very repetitious and I'm not good with tedious things. So I like to kind of, I'll make like a few of the same size. And then I'll go back and make some more, a different size. But I'm definitely not making perfect round circles. That's where it might look weird if you make perfectly round circles. Let's see how I'm staggering them all around. And just kind of stand back and look and see if you need any place. And as you get up here, they're towards the top, like this side of the leg thing. So you don't want to have like two rows like train tracks of the exact same size. Try to, I mean, it's also harder doing it that way. Try to be random with this, because then we have to go back with put black in there, but that's easier because then you have them all done already. And if you get, you know, bored like I do from doing these, you can just hop to a different leg. That seems to be helpful sometimes. And as you know, it gets a little bit easier as you get here because you could just use your brush, like the shape of your brush. And don't worry about being perfect. Nobody is gonna look closely at these things. Trust me, I bet you didn't. But when you're dealing with like something that's the focal point right now, you kind of overanalyze it. All right, I'm totally running out of this. So again, I just take white and I add a touch of that dark red to it to make this pink color. All right, so now we're on a roll, so we can go, once we get here, again, we're going to do the biggest ones over here. And then as you go into this, the darkness over here, I want you to kind of just make your, you can take a lot of paint off your brush, and I just want you to dry brush so they're like a little bit darker. Like shadows going in there. And I'm sure you're going to run out of paint periodically with doing these. But for many of you, this will be very relaxing. But if you're like me and you don't like repetition, then you won't enjoy this part. I gotta like switch it up and go over here. So at least painting an octopus kind of is summery, gives us hope for the summer. I think the beaches are open now, so Memorial Day was last weekend, and from what, I don't watch the news or anything, but I guess I haven't heard anything about anything crazy happening with people as far as any complications from things being open and stuff. I don't know. So I think it gives people a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel here. So, gives me some light. All right. I know, it seems like it's like the longest part of the whole thing. Look, we're almost halfway there. Ooh. Well, at least these legs, there's less legs to do as we get going. So as you can see, also, like, a lot of the things I'm doing are different than on the original, which, you're going to do the same thing as we did up there. You're just going to kind of make them fade back by don't press so hard on your brush, and try to take almost all the paint off your brush. All right. But, yeah, so my colors aren't the same. My composition's obviously not the same. If you look at any of my other paintings, they're never the same. So I don't get hard on yourself if yours are not the same. Then we don't want them the same. We want them all different. That's the point of this. So for those of you guys that hear me say this all the time, close your ears, but it's true. That's why I say it all the time. Like, it's my job to teach you things, but it's also my job to help you to embrace your style, because we all have a style, whether you like it or not. We don't go to museums to see all the same style of artwork. We would never go. We go to see different styles, and some styles you like and some styles you don't like, and that's the way it's supposed to be. I'm going to switch it up and go over here. I think, you learn, think about, if we started this painting all over again from scratch and you did it, it would be a completely different experience, because you've you kind of know what to expect. But when you first do a painting, you know, these are weird because you don't know where you're going or what to expect, but you just get better and better as you go. And you learn as you go. I learn every time I teach. I learn a little bit more. Sometimes, you know, I make these videos and even I'm like, you know, maybe they don't turn out as good as I thought because, well, it's really hard to, when I'm not there to help people live. So if anybody comes into any problems, and I feel very terrible that I'm not there with you, being able to help you through it. But we will meet again not so long from now. We're almost done. Well, I am. I hope you are too. Or if you're not, that's fine. So we are almost there. And at the end is fun because you can take everything you just learned and you can go around and adjust things. Again, as you go up with these, you can make them lighter, darker. I'm sorry, they're going to go into the darkness. So you just kind of dry brush very lightly. One more leg arm thing. All right, we're getting there. We are getting there. All right, so I think I stopped around there. Did I get every leg? And if you feel like putting them on there, put them on there. I didn't put them on there. All right, so now we're going to get to the black. Here's mine. So you're going to clean that brush, dry that brush. I like to take some black and put it on my plate. And I'm gonna just tone down the black a tiny bit with some white. I want it to look black, but I'm just taking the edge off a little bit. So you're just gonna take your brush and put the dots in the middle. It's fast, super fast. Just take the shape of your brush. And you're just going to go in the middle. And you can make them all different shapes, all different sizes. Okay. And sorry if I'm in your way here. It's gonna just, obviously don't press so hard down as you get to these guys. Just use the tip. I like to use my pinky as a kickstand. It helps keep my hand kind of steady-ish because it gets kind of hard as you get to these little tiny ones. But again, don't overthink it. Then we get to the eye. Woo! I put just a little bit of black right in the middle of a slant. Okay, while I'm right there. again, this is not the focal point. Okay, so people aren't going to be analyzing your black dots. So the more you press down, the bigger the dot gets. So to get to these big ones, you just press down a little bit more. And obviously I'm going quicker, so you don't, you can take your time to make it, if you want your dots round or whatever, shaped. That's fine. Again, that's a perk of having, doing this out of the comfort of your own home. You can spend as much time as you want doing these. And I know trust me, I know it gets to be a lot. We're going on probably 2 hours, I'm guessing. And it's a long time to sit here and work on something. Okay, we're almost there. And another thing is I would love to see your finished pieces. So if you message us pictures or tag us and you can post them, we would love to see them. And no, this isn't an easy painting. This isn't, this is a challenge. But the bigger the challenge, the better you feel about yourself when it's over. So, all right. So at the end, I want you to look at everything. You can go back with, if you want to go back to brighten up your yellows, you can do that. All you have to do is kind of go back this way on there. Just watch out for your octopus, and you can go back with adjusting your colors. Use everything you just learned, and you're allowed to go back at any point and adjust things. I really do love that part. You can go back and put more purple. You can experiment with the purple. It's totally up to you. So thank you for joining me on this one. It's nice that you're up for the challenge, and you should be very proud of yourselves, because that was not an easy painting. Yeah, thank you. And I look forward to painting with everybody in person again very soon. All right, happy painting, guys. Bye.